Chapel Ridge, a seemingly peaceful small town. The disappearance of Latino high school student Javier Morales becomes a catalyst for truth to come to light. When Sheriff Ray Caldwell discovers that his son Travis is involved, he is forced to make a choice: protect his family or pursue justice to the end. In a series of silent days, evidence emerges, leading to confessions, changing faces, and a town forced to look in the mirror. Ray not only holds the mayor's son, the man directly responsible for Javier's death, accountable, but also holds his own son accountable. Amid falling snow and silent eyes, silence at Chapel Ridge is not about guilt. It's about the price of truth and the courage to risk everything for what is right. Chapel Ridge woke Monday morning to a dim November light. It wasn't cold enough to require a heavy coat, but the wind smelled of winter. Ray Caldwell filled up at the gas station at the front of town as usual. A steaming paper cup of coffee steaming on the hood of his patrol car. Every morning was the same wake-up at 5. Drive around the old business district. Stop by the gas station. Say hello to a few acquaintances. But today, things were different. Amber, the young gas station attendant in her early 20s, didn't smile as she handed him the receipt. "Mr. Caldwell, Javier didn't show up for work last night," she said, her voice soft, her eyes averted. "He's not the type to skip a shift without telling him." Ray paused. "Do his parents know?" Amber nodded. "Mrs. Morales called me at 6 this morning. She said Javier wasn't home. His phone was off." Ray spent the rest of the day looking for him. He went to the Morales house, a small house at the end of Hickory Street, with a peeling white picket fence, and found Mrs. Morales standing on the porch, her eyes red but not crying. "You know my son is not like that," she said, her voice like someone holding her breath to keep from breaking. "He goes to work and comes straight home, always." Ray knew. Javier was a hard worker, 17, skinny, bespectacled. Always said sir to Ray. He didn't cause trouble, didn't hang out, was a good student. There was no reason to leave. Ray called the staff, had them check the cameras around the gas station, but some of them had been out of order for a long time, and no one had asked for repairs. Lack of funds. Was the excuse so old that no one bothered to ask? At the town council meeting Monday night, Ray proposed expanding the search. He wanted to make the announcement, to invite the state police to help. But Mayor Diane Rooks was against it. "We shouldn't make a big deal out of it without proof," she said, her voice sweet but cold. "This town is trying to recover from a difficult year. A missing person doesn't necessarily mean a missing person." Ray looked around the room, the faces he knew, the nods, the glances. Everyone was thinking about the new store, the proposed interstate through town. What would happen if outsiders found it dangerous after leaving? Ray sat alone in the patrol car, the streetlights illuminating the backs of his hands. The calluses from his time in the military were still there. He pulled out his phone and called Travis. "What are you calling so late?" Travis asked, his voice still sleepy. He was in college in Bowling Green, nearly 2 hours away. "Are you coming home this weekend?" "No." "Why, just wanted to ask." "Something small in town. A missing boy." There was a pause. "Javier Morales?" Travis asked, as if he had known. Ray froze. "How did you know I saw it on Facebook? Some old friends?" Ray listened to his son's voice. No shaking, no strain, but he felt his throat dry. "Do you know anything else?" he asked, keeping his voice even. "No," Travis said, then quickly changed the subject. "Dad, I'm busy with school. Call me back later. Ray sat still after the call ended. On the console, the intercom crackled. Mr. Caldwell. We have someone who found a pair of shoes near the creek. He drove away. But what was on his mind was not the creek or the shoes, but the way Travis had learned Javier's name so quickly, and why that scared him. Ray pulled up to the side of the dirt road that led to Briar Creek, where people fished or walked their dogs on weekends. It was after 8 o'clock. The sky was pitch black, and the wind was whistling through the bare trees. 3 officers were already there, standing around a yellow-ribbed area. A portable headlamp illuminated the wet grass, where a pair of old sneakers lay, grey with frayed white soles. These look like Javier's shoes, Officer Turner said as Ray approached. Ms. Morales described them almost exactly. Ray bent down. The shoes were small, no blood, but one was soaked, as if it had been pulled from the water. He looked out toward the creek. The water was slow-moving, black and thick. Who found it? A couple went out to walk their dog this morning. They left it where they were and called us right away. Ray nodded, his eyes never leaving the shoe. He gestured to Turner. Call the dive team, just be sure. Ray didn't come home the next day. He slept in his office chair, his coffee cold on the table. By morning, word of the shoe's discovery had spread throughout town. Facebook, market groups, small shops everywhere. Mrs. Morales went to the police station, carrying an old photo of Javier wearing the shoes at a school carnival. Her eyes were puffy. Those are his shoes, she said. Not a tear in her eye, I know. Ray held the photo in his hand, his throat tight. He nodded. We won't stop, I promise. After Mrs. Morales left, he called Travis again. The call went unanswered. By noon, the dive team had recovered a phone from the bottom of the stream, mangled, the screen shattered. The police confirmed it was Javier's phone. There was nothing to salvage the data from, but an intact SIM card might provide a clue. Ray sat at his desk and called the state digital unit. While he waited, he opened his laptop and found Travis's Facebook page. His wall was blank save for a photo posted on Sunday, Travis standing next to an old black pickup truck, a beer in his hand, a wide smile on his face. Behind him was an empty field and a shorter figure, barely visible in the corner. His face was unclear, but his dark hair and lean frame sent a chill down Ray's spine. He zoomed in on the photo. The man was wearing a grey hoodie. Javier had one just like it. Ray saved the photo, then pulled out his phone and called the digital forensics unit. That afternoon, Ray went to the house of an old friend, Walter Griggs, a former officer who was now a guard at the warehouse. They'd been in Iraq together, where every decision was life or death. Walter lived alone, in a small wooden house with military posters on the walls. What's going on? Walter asked as Ray entered the house. I think Travis is involved, Ray said bluntly, not because he was sure, but because he couldn't bear the lingering speculation. Walter wasn't surprised. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handing one to Ray. What do you want from me? Someone who isn't afraid of the worst, Ray said. And if I'm wrong, I need someone to slap me awake. Walter took a sip. Travis had a problem with that Morales kid. Not sure. They were in high school together a year. But Travis is the type who doesn't give a shit. It bothers me. Walter nodded. If it's something, do it. Not for the kid, but for you. Ray sat there for a long time, head down in his hands. Outside, It was starting to rain lightly. That night, when he got back to work, there was an email from the digital team. They'd deciphered some of Javier's SIM card. A text message emerged, sent at 10:48 p. Saturday. Why did you do this? Travis Ray's heart was pounding. He leaned back in his chair, looking at the ceiling, where the fan was spinning silently. He knew now the investigation was no longer about justice for another family. It was about a choice for himself to be on the right side, or to keep what he loved. The next morning there was no sun. The town was covered in low clouds, a grey curtain waiting to fall. Ray drove not to work but straight to Bowling Green. The highway was long and straight. The trees were dry. He had not warned Travis. He simply needed to see his son, and not by phone, not in pictures. Travis's college was on the edge of town. Red brick buildings lining gravel roads. Ray parked in the lot and walked to the dorms. The doorman looked puzzled when he saw him in his police uniform. Travis Caldwell. Ray said, "What's the room size?" A moment later, he was standing in front of his son's door, knocking 3 times. Travis opened the door. He was in a t-shirt, his hair disheveled, looking surprised and a little scared. "Dad," why Ray held up the photo on his phone. "Travis and the person in the corner. Tell me who this is." Travis looked at the photo, then looked away. "Just an acquaintance. Not sure. Don't lie." A long pause. "It was Javier," Travis said, almost a whisper. "But I didn't do anything. I swear." Ray nodded, pursed his lips. "Tell me." The story began one evening drinking beer in the field behind town, a place where kids hung out when no one was looking. Travis and a few old friends, including Kyle Burns, the mayor's son, and a few others. Javier had been invited, for reasons unknown, maybe to laugh, maybe just to watch. Kyle got drunk, saying Javier was stealing jobs from white people. Travis said, looking at the floor, it was just nonsense. But then Kyle threw a beer at Javier. Ray clenched his fists. And then I stepped in. Javier pushed Kyle away. Kyle got mad, grabbed his shirt. They wrestled. Then Javier fell, hit his head on a rock. There was a lot of blood. But I think he was just stunned. Travis paused, his voice choked up. I told everyone to call an ambulance, but Kyle said no, said if this got out, he was done for. He threatened everyone. Ray took a deep breath, slow as if counting his beats. What about me? I drove left. I know I'm a coward. Don't tell me. But I'm scared. I'm really scared. Ray stood up, looking at his son as if he had never known who he was. Back at Chapel Ridge, Ray drove to the mayor's office. Diane Rooks was having lunch, eating salad out of a plastic container. When he entered, she looked up, her eyes searching. I need a warrant for Carl Burns, Ray said, without beating around the bush. Her eyes flickered. On what basis? Ray laid out all the facts, the text messages, the confession, the photo. She was silent for a few seconds, then sighed. Ray, I understand you're doing it for justice, but if you go public with this, you're killing the town's future. The press, the media, the investors. Kyle is my son. I'm not making excuses for him. But do you think this is worth it? Ray looked at her. Javier Morales is someone's son too, and if I turn away, then everything I've ever done will be for nothing. And Travis Ray didn't answer. He left the office. Ray arrested Kyle that afternoon, at school, in front of dozens of students. He struggled, cursed, demanded to call a lawyer, but Ray said nothing. He handcuffed him, read him his rights, and put him in the car. When he got back to the station, he called Travis. "I want you to turn yourself in. I'm not going to do this for you." A pause. "Dad, do you still love me?" Travis asked. "I always have," Ray said. "But love doesn't mean hiding the truth." The town was quiet that evening, but the undercurrents were already stirring. The first post appeared on Facebook. From a student, sheriff arrests mayor's son. Chapel Ridge is changing. Ray sat in his office, looking out the window. The streetlights illuminated his face, old, tired, but no longer wavering. For the first time in years, he felt light. Though the price of the truth was high, at least he had paid the right price. 2 weeks later, Chapel Ridge was not the same. News of the arrests of Carl Burns and Travis Caldwell spread across Kentucky. Local television stations descended on the town, setting up cameras in front of the police station, asking questions people never expected to have answered. Familiar names: Ray Caldwell, Javier Morales. Diane Rooks became the center of an uninvited conversation. Some people supported Ray. They left notes scrawled on the doors of their patrol cars. "Thank you for doing the right thing," but others avoided him or gave him cold looks as they passed. "You betrayed your people," a man said bluntly in the supermarket. Ray just nodded. He didn't need to defend himself. Travis was held for a week before being released on bail. Ray didn't come to pick up his son. They met in the sheriff's office, where there were no hugs, just wooden chairs and silence. "I don't know how I'm going to survive," Travis said, his eyes dark. "My friends are gone. I'm suspended from school. You ruined everything." Ray looked at his son, seeing the raw anger in his eyes, the pain of someone who has never learned to take responsibility. "No, I didn't ruin anything," he said. "You chose to live without facing it. Now it's time to learn again." Travis bowed his head. For the first time, tears fell down his cheeks. Ray didn't approach, didn't comfort him. He knew there were lessons that no one could teach him except by paying the price. Kyle was charged with assault resulting in death and obstructing justice. His family hired a top lawyer, trying to make the case seem like an accident. But evidence from Travis's testimony, traffic cameras, and recovered text messages from Javier's phone weakened their efforts. The Latino community began holding vigils and placing Javier's picture in front of the church. They didn't say much, just stood there in silence. And somehow, that silence spoke louder than any slogan. Mara-Liz didn't come to see Ray. But one Saturday morning, as he was washing his car in the yard, an empanada was placed on the doorstep, still warm. There was no message. Ray took it inside, set it on the table, and ate it alone in silence. In December, it snowed early. Schools were cancelled for a week. Ray left the sheriff's office quietly. No press conference, no farewell party. He simply filed his resignation and locked his desk. Walter Griggs was offered the position of acting sheriff while he waited for re-election. In an interview with the local newspaper, Diane Rooks announced that she would not seek re-election. She took responsibility, saying that she had confused protecting the town with protecting personal power. A change spread from the core, small but real, on New Year's Day. Ray drove to Louisville, where a correctional facility was holding Travis pending his initial trial. He would be given probation, and the community would decide whether he deserved to be released. They sat side by side in the visiting room, through thick glass. There was no barbed wire, no heavy guards, just father and son in the slow melting winter. "Do you regret it?" Travis asked. After a long moment, Ray didn't answer right away. He looked out the window at the falling snow, the pale light reflecting off the floor. "I regret a lot of things, but not that," he said, looking straight at his son. "It will hurt. It will cost you. But later, if you can stand, you'll understand sometimes loss is the price of holding on to the best of yourself." Travis nodded. He said nothing more. Over the next few weeks, Ray began writing handwritten letters to families in town, those who had lost loved ones without justice, old cases that had never been solved. Not to apologize, just to say he remembered, and to let them know that, as sheriff, he had tried to keep that flame alive, even if it wasn't always bright enough. In Chapel Ridge, Javier Morales was no longer a stranger. At school, a classroom was named J.M., Lab Room. On the wall was a photo of him reading, with the words, "There is no small justice, there is only great silence." Ray stood in front of the photo one afternoon. He said nothing, but in his heart, he called his name slowly, like a firelighter.